Hello, law teachers. Welcome to Learning is Not Quiet presents character traits. Today, I'm going to explain how I use my character trait product in my classroom. I'm also going to talk about some of the strengths of this product as well as some common pitfalls to avoid. I am further going to talk about ways to differentiate and extend on this product so that you can meet the needs of all of your students. So without further ado, let's begin. If you're watching this video, it's likely because you have purchased or are interested in purchasing this character traits strategies game, activities test prep practice, or this character traits charades. I'm going to go through both of these, but just please note that the character traits paper version includes this character traits charade. So this is only if you want to purchase the game separately. Make sure you don't over purchase. As always, if you have any questions about purchasing, please feel free to contact me on Learning is Not Quiet on teacherspayteachers.com. Also, if you have any ideas or questions about how to incorporate this into your classroom, I'm always happy to support you. So please do not hesitate to reach out. Okay, so with that, I'm going to start with this character traits game. Note that prices are subject to change over time. What this character traits game is actually pretty simple. It involves a bunch of character traits, like hundreds of character trait cards, and what students do is they pull a character trait out of the bag. I don't have it with me, I left it at school, and they try to act like that character trait. Now, some variations on this is you can do it quietly, you can do it loud, like only with speaking, or you can do it with speaking and acting. So that's kind of up to the needs of your students and how difficult you want to make this particular exercise. So you'll notice these are all negative character traits, kind of negative sounding at least. I have obviously both positive and negative character traits as well as neutral ones included in this product. So the students will pick up a card, so let's say bossy. And it's really fun to watch students pretend to be all of these different things. A key thing, especially if your students do not have the highest vocabulary, you might want to have a dictionary next to this so that they get practice looking things up in the dictionary, and also so that they have the ability not to skip over cards when they don't know what one means. So for example, like cunning might be hard for some students, and greedy might be difficult for some students. So just make sure you have the resources there if your students need it, and that's one of the ways to differentiate this. So they act that character trait, and then you go around the circle and other students try to guess what character trait that person is enacting. A variation on this is you can lay out the character traits on a table, and you can put the characters from the book you're reading. So for example, I always read Wonder, one of my favorite books of all time. It is not a product on my store because there's already so many amazing Wonder products available on Teachers Pay Teachers. But you can put the characters on a table, like Julian, Augie, Summer, whatever. And then you can have students separate those character cards and sort them into things that describe the characters. Always make sure that you have a miscellaneous or extra pile because there are character traits that might not describe anyone from the book you're reading. So those are two different ways to use this part of the product in your classroom. This is a great literacy circle station. This is a great I'm finished activity. So what I do is I have a bunch of clothes hangers in the back of my classroom. I put these in a baggie, I put them in the back, and then when students are done, they can choose this game to practice character traits with their neighbor as they finish their work early. It gives them motivation to do their work well and quickly, but also keeps them learning when they're finished. Okay, so that's kind of this game. This is also helpful, by the way, when you're in that standardized learning, the testing time of year, because again, it keeps students learning, it keeps them engaged without really frying their brain. Okay, so now I'm going to move on from the character traits to this whole package of character traits, and this includes everything. Now, the way my reading strategy bundles work is that they're scaffolded, so they build on each other, and the main idea, I always talk about reading strategies as being like drawers in your brain. So a lot of times we teach language arts in one way over and over again. We do like reading practice, reading practice, reading practice, reading practice. And what I want to give my students is a bunch of different experiences with all kinds of different ways to learn about that topic so that when they get a standardized test question, when they encounter this in a book club conversation or in other places in their reading lives, that they have this whole drawer of experiences to pull from. And so that's really the goal with the character traits and with all of my reading strategies bundle. A lot of times teachers will open this up and they'll at first think like, this is not as hard as I was imagining it. Trust me, it gets harder as you move throughout the week. So how it's structured is supposed to be on a 5-day week. Obviously, there are snow days and presentations and choir concerts and teacher professional development days, 4-day work weeks. So obviously adjust this as you see best, but this is what it's meant to be. It's on a 5-day school week. So the first day we start off with an activity that doesn't really have anything to do with reading or writing. It just kind of exposes students to the idea of working with this particular reading strategy. Day 2 is when we actually talk about that strategy, and I do a lot of direct teaching on this day. That's the day we have things like interactive notebooks, coloring pages, notes, all that kind of stuff. Remember, in this package is included a PowerPoint that you can project with the answers, as well as some notes for students to take that goes along with this product. So that's day 2. Days 3 and 4 are more direct traditional practice, right? So for this one, it's going to be like multiple choice questions, separating emotions from character traits, reading stories, pulling those kinds of things out. And then on the last day, there's a Broadway musical mania. And that I actually take as an assessment of all of the previous days that we've done. It's also a fabulous way to get students reading and excited about it, as well as familiarize them with the testing language. So that's kind of the overview. Let's dive into what these lessons really look like. So the first day, like I said, not the most rigorous day, but it's just kind of getting kids to think about character traits. So it says, we are all different people. Interview a partner in class, asking them the questions below. This is also, heads up, great to do at the beginning of the school year when you're getting to know each other, or if you have a new student in class, to get them comfortable talking to other people and learning about who they are. And even students who've been together for a long time usually learn stuff about each other with these questions, because these aren't the types of questions they usually ask each other. So there's a series of questions like, what is your favorite thing to do on a snow day? What does a typical day during summer vacation look like for you? What color best describes you? So they're taking the person they're interviewing and they're rating that person's answers to these questions. Note, you can also have students walk around the classroom and interview something different for each question. Just make sure they also write that person's name, because when we share in the end, I usually pick one person per question. I want to know who said what, and it kind of just adds to the fun culture of our classroom. So that's day 1. It's just kind of getting them exposed to thinking about what makes someone's character. The next piece of this product is this coloring page. I really believe in coloring pages because they attach color, they attach a visual for our visual learners, again, building up that drawer of strategies, and it really kind of sits in my brain that way. I now understand that that's not how every learner thinks, so I put this as extra credit. So I will give it to my students at the beginning of the week, and they can turn it in color at any point to show me that they have done this and get extra credit. This is also just a way for them to really focus on what a character trait actually is. The next thing included in this, and again, this would be my day 2, is I would go over these positive character traits. So there's a whole list of positive, negative, and neutral character traits. This is a great poster if you want to project this to your class or hang it up somewhere in a blown up version as a way for them to reference back when they're reading and they have to answer questions about character traits. You can obviously have this in a reading notebook. They refer back to it. That's all great things to do with this particular page. Okay, then we have the traits organizer. And depending on how I have my week structured, I would do this on day 2 or 3. And for this, you pick a character from the book you are currently reading. You're going to read the next chapter and try to fill in character traits. Remember, character traits are things that a character is like in the long term, not how the character feels on a particular day. It's the climate, not the weather. Notice how many times I emphasize, focus, and repeat. It's the climate, not the weather. Thank you, RBG, for giving me that from On the Basis of Sex movie. But this is kind of a great description, not only for American law, but also for character traits. A lot of times students will give words like happy or sad, and those can be character traits if a character is long-term sad or long-term happy, but oftentimes they're an emotion, not a character trait. This is actually, I find, a lot easier for speakers of other languages, especially like a Romance language like Spanish, because in Spanish we have different words for long-term and short-term traits. Like I could say, estoy feliz, I'm happy right now, or soy feliz, and that means like I'm a happy person. So it's a little bit easier for speakers of other languages to differentiate these things, a little bit harder for English speakers because we have the same word to describe. So that's just kind of a fun fact and fun connection. So notice there are character traits and physical traits. They're filling that in for the character, as well as emotions and other things. This next activity, again, this would be day 3 or 4, depending on how your schedule is set up. This one is just a quick exercise. This could even be a bell work of students separating things from being a emotion or character trait. Circle the character traits below. There may be more than one. That's also great test prep, reading the directions and being able to select more than one. For each question, highlight the yellow of the physical traits and orange the emotions. This will help us distinguish to find out the climate, long-term values and features of the character, instead of the weather, how the character is acting on a particular day. Again, notice how many times I repeat that. So here they're just identifying and circling the character traits. Interpret those directions as you see best. This next activity is the Read It character traits. There's a short passage that really gives some intense characters, and then they have to find the character traits of the different people. This is more like a passage with standardized test questions afterwards. Again, we're upping that rigor. Now we've gone from creating experiences to actually connecting this to reading and writing. You can, of course, have students do other activities with these passages. It's just really, in this product, meant to be focused on the character traits. Finally, our 5th day, we have I Speak 6 Languages. I love doing this with my honor students at the beginning of the year. This is the best song to play for honor students outside of this product. Even if you decide to watch this video and you don't purchase the product, oh my God, this song is so powerful with like advanced students, gifted students, because they often sometimes as a class, and I can say this because I've taught gifted and talented students for about 4 years of my 7 years of teaching, and they sometimes have a big ego about themselves. And this is particularly true. I taught in a county where gifted was a little bit more parental self-identified than actual student identified, and the students had kind of an attitude about it sometimes. In that they would tell like the general education students, like, these are gifted balls that they were playing with at recess and not general education balls. And so I really like this because it really brings it down a notch and it gets people to notice how annoying Marcy is in this song. And let's just take a look at it. So this is the lyrics to I Speak 6 Languages, and it's basically about Miss Park. I forget what her real name is. Yeah, her name is Marcy, excuse me. And she is going on and on and on about all the things she does, and she's just so braggy, right? She's a champion rugby player. She plays Mozart. She, is athletic. And it talks about how she doesn't get any enjoyment from it. And it really, you kind of feel bad for her in the end. And one of the final questions of this activity is, would you want to be Marcy's friend? Why or why not? And unfortunately, a lot of the students say, I wouldn't want to be Marcy's friend. She sounds really annoying. And that's a great thing to connect to students, especially if they're struggling with this kind of arrogance and feeling better than the other people in your school, in your community, whatever it may be. Even in a general education classroom, I played this song a number of times, and it really helps us be accepting, and we talk about different gifts and things that different people have. So really use this song to talk about other things because it is so powerful, and it's just hilarious. There are questions that follow. I do this as I have students read it by themselves first, without the music playing. Then the first time I play the music, I have them highlight particularly good examples of word choice. So like in this one, it might be unscrolls, things like that. The third time through, I have students visualize, so draw a picture that might go with this. And then the last time through, I have them relate it to what we're talking about. So for this one, I would have them write character traits of Marcy. And then I leave them to answer these multiple choice questions. If you want more information about Broadway Musical Mania, there's a whole product, whole package, and whole video available on just this topic. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this product and are interested in others like it, be aware that there are so many different reading strategy bundles that are set up in a very similar way. And if you really like this, there's an entire reading strategies bundle that has all of the different strategies available for 50% off. Like I said, there's also Broadway Musical Mania, very successful product that you can use if you just like the Broadway musical part of this. There are so many more musicals to find. There are also book clubs to practice these different strategies, and book club bundles if you want to differentiate and meet those needs of all your students with really, really fun, good books. Thank you so much for preparing the next generation of readers. Thank you for being awesome, loud teachers. Thank you for watching. Please support my store on Teachers Pay Teachers, like and subscribe, and I will see you later. Adios.